Hello and welcome to Mum's Work and Chaos with me, Louise. They say it takes a village to raise a child, so let me help you build yours. During this journey, I'll be learning about everything from neurodiversity in children's literature through to body image post-pregnancy. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Mum's Work and Chaos with me, Louise. Today you're joining us on the fourth episode of our Starting School series, and I am joined by the wonderful Emma, Dietitian with a Difference, who has joined me previously to talk about food allergies and fussy eating. But today we're talking about how we can support your child who's starting school and basically school lunches. So hi Emma, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back on your podcast again.
No worries at all. So for those who haven't heard our first episode, would you mind just giving a brief intro to yourself?
Right, sure. So my name's Emma. I'm a paediatric dietitian and I help parents with fussy eating and food allergies. And the reason I call myself Dietitian with a Difference is I'm not just a dietitian, I'm also a mum who has lived through multiple allergies of milk and egg and also had a very fussy eater as well. So I try to provide lots of practical strategies that I know work as a dietitian, but also as a mum as well.
And honestly, your Instagram is so helpful because you, as well as doing your courses as well, you also have this amazing Instagram account where you give us recipe ideas, and also you provide those little cards as well that talk about food laddering as well, so which have actually been very helpful for me on our journey to actually eating some cooked vegetables. So
brilliant.
So for those who have listened to the previous episode, my 7-year-old loves raw fruit and veg, but the minute it is anywhere near cooked, she doesn't want to have anything to do with it, unless of course it's a chip or a crisp. So there you go. But we're slowly moving towards cooked vegetables, so thank you very much, Emma.
That's all right, it can be hard, different texture, so yeah, raw can sometimes work better.
Yeah, definitely. Today, looking at starting school and how we can support our children, one thing I really wanted to talk to you about today was school lunches. Now, I know it can be a bit of a minefield for us parents of fussy eaters to sort of allay the anxiety of our children actually eating at school. So I know when my eldest started, she was already a fussy eater and hated anything to do with potatoes. Most of the things on the menu actually included potato in some form or another, and I was worried that would sort of like stop her eating an entire dinner anyway. But also she's really easily distracted, and with such a short amount of time to eat and such a large amount of food, she'd sort of like leave the food to go and play with her friends. So it can be a bit of a scary prospect for us as parents when they start school, just trying to chill a bit with the idea that they will eat eventually.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I had the same anxieties with my little girl because she was really fussy as well, and I worried about her starting school. I mean, she started school in COVID, so that's probably not the best start, but yes. But I actually found that she actually ate more at school, being around her peers, and tried new different foods as well. And although she did struggle and didn't always eat that well, she did eat something. And as time went on through reception and into year one, things did start to get better as well, just to reassure parents out there, because I know I was quite worried as well.
Yeah, I had the same thing, but also like she'd get the FOMO. Her friends would eat and then dash to go and play, and she might not have finished. And so when we also started school in COVID. So she started school in 2020. So she had like the first bit of school, and then we had that big homeschooling lockdown bit, and then she went back to school for the summer term, which was really fun. But I found as well that being around her peers, she was more open to trying things. And she came home one day, she was like, I ate a chip. And I was like, that is amazing. I mean, she was addicted to chips as a toddler, and then got this real aversion to potato, to the point where she wouldn't even eat chips either. So actually eating a chip was a really big win for us. But my main concern was actually whether she'd actually eat anything. And because she gets distracted by all the other kids and wanted to go and play. And so we'd started doing this thing at home, which was, you don't have to finish your whole plate of food, just have to eat until you're full. And that's
the intuitive eating approach, can really help a lot of children, because they are good intuitive eaters. They normally know when they're full as well. So it is really important to trust them when they're saying they're full as well, and help them learn that skill as well.
Come home and she'd be absolutely ravenous, because she'd sort of skipped lunch to play with her friends. And I think that whole large plate of food in front of you could be actually quite daunting. And so me saying you just have to eat until you're full, not have to clear the plate, really sort of helped getting her to eat something rather than nothing, because they do have this allotted time, and if they don't eat enough, I think sometimes it's quite easy for some of the midday assistants to say, no, you can't leave until you've eaten.
Yeah, definitely.
But actually that wording is quite, anxiety provoking, isn't it, for a child?
Yeah, I was sharing the story about my little girl, and they used to take her back to like the classroom, or take her back and give her more food because she hadn't eaten anything at all with this other little boy, which I only found out about later. But really old school sort of approach to eating. And I remember as a child being made to eat pasta, and I didn't eat pasta till I was 19 years old, because I was so traumatized by pasta at school. So it can have a negative consequence as well. But I hope as time's going on, there is more positive messaging around food, and hopefully schools are a lot better around that whole approach. And they used to, my little girl as well, they used to give her a much smaller plate. So when she was in year 1, they'd give her a smaller plate and a much smaller plate portion as well, so it didn't overwhelm her, because they realized quite quickly that if you put too much on a plate, she wouldn't eat any of it. So definitely speak to teachers and the staff as well, especially if your child's not eating. Really do approach them as well, because there are things that can be put in place to help children as well. And it is important that they do eat something, because if they don't, that can really affect their learning. And I saw a client recently, and her little boy they were basically going to do all these assessments and tests on him because they felt like he was falling behind. But when we actually looked at it, he wasn't eating anything all day at school, and they wouldn't let him bring in a packed lunch. So I actually approached the school and said, look, can he have a packed lunch? Because we don't think there's issues with his learning. We think he's just really hungry. And actually that by implementing that, they made a big change to his learning as well. So, eating is really important. So if you are worried, do definitely speak to the teachers as well.
Yeah, that was one thing that I did as well. I was worried that she wasn't eating, and she wasn't. So I spoke to her class teacher, who spoke to the midday assistants, and they reported back that, she was struggling with eating. Because she was getting distracted. And so that's when I started working with the teacher and the midday assistants to say, eat until you're full. So helping to sort of like rebrand, as it were, the messaging that the midday assistants were giving as well really helped her, because she was like, oh, they would tell me I have to clear my plate, or I have to finish all my food before I can go out and play. And that's not the case. Like, they're only little, they've got small stomachs. It's like when you have a brand new baby and they've got a stomach the size of a cherry. It gets bigger as they get older, but each child is different. Each child's physical development is different as well, so they might eat different amounts of things at different times. And again, you can even see that in toddlers while they're growing. They go through these spurts of eating like locusts, where they just clear the cupboards out, and then the next thing you know, they're on starvation mode.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, again, going back to that whole like eat everything on your plate, it's quite an old-fashioned approach. Like during the war and stuff like that, grandparents, food was scarce, and now food isn't scarce. So those kind of theories and ways of eating are quite old, old approaches. And it's good to address them with the teachers or the staff as well.
Yeah, definitely. So I ran a Q&A box on my Instagram last week, and we got some really good questions through from our listeners. So I thought we'd just have a little run through some of those and see if we can give our listeners some answers, really. So the first one I've got here, my child barely eats at home. How can I trust that they're eating at school? I think that's an interesting phrase, trust. Trust your child.
Yeah, I think you do have to trust them. And I think one good thing is that with a lot of schools now, they publish online menus as well. So it depends on the school and what options they've got. So I do think it's worth having a look at that menu, potentially going through it with your child as well. Normally in most schools, they have options of food that I would say is child friendly. There should be options on that meal that your child potentially has eaten before or eaten at home. One thing you can do is potentially look at that menu as well, and even try and cook up some of those foods and have a go at making them with your child as well, so that they can taste them and try them as well. That can be a really good approach. But do also, if you're really worried about your child's eating, do speak to the teachers and the school as well first, because it's good sometimes to go in and let them have a go at trying the school meals, see how they get on. Sometimes with the peer pressure and being with their friends, they're much more open to trying new foods. So it's worth giving a go, but it's definitely worth speaking to teachers and making sure that someone reports back to you. Because if you are having days where they're not eating anything, then that does start to get concerning, and it is something that you would need to address with them. But I would try and go in with a positive attitude and try and go in with an approach that, you know, let them have a go at trying the foods and see how you get on. But, you know, if after a little short period of time, they're really not eating anything, you know, they're struggling at school, then I would definitely, you know, approach looking at other options as well, and packed lunches and other options, or even days where maybe there might be jacket potato, not in the case of your child, but quite a lot of children like jacket potatoes, or Fridays often, you know, there's like fish fingers or something that your child might like. So there might be certain days where they can have a school lunch as well with their friends as well.
Yeah, the way it works with our school is we get a menu and we get to pick. So on the days where I know she's really not going to eat something, I tend to choose the school packed lunch. So instead of having to, you know, the outlay of buying all the stuff to make packed lunches, because she doesn't eat packed lunches regularly, you know, we're never going to make our way through that entire packet of ham or that entire packet of bread, because we don't really eat much bread on the day-to-day basis. So, you know, instead of making a packed lunch, I'll choose the packed lunch option. So in this case, it's either like a roll or a wrap or something with cheese and ham and you know, piece of fruit. And again, at her school, although we get to choose like the options from the menu, we don't get to see what's for pudding. We don't get to see what the drinks are. Drinks are usually water, and so like she'll come home, she'll be like, oh, I had cake today, or I had, you know, we had fruit salad or something. And it's really funny because like she wouldn't eat a fruit salad at home, yet she'll eat it at school, or she won't eat custard at home but she will at school. It's so strange. And
yeah,
I remember school custard being
same
really
with my child.
gross.
She'll eat lots of different things, and she'll come home really excited. And you might find this as well, you know, with the person that asks questions, that they'll come home and be like, I tried this new food today, and they'll be really excited to tell you about that. My little girl will do that. I tried this today, or I ate this. And sometimes that's why school dinners can be a good opportunity for them to be exposed to other new foods as well. So try and go in with a positive attitude, I'd say, start with, and see how things go. But have it in the back of your mind that you can speak to the teachers and talk to them about your concerns as well if things don't go quite according to plan.
And as I said before, moving to that sort of more intuitive way of eating as well really worked for us. So instead of giving her the pressure and the deadline, like we tried everything. So like giving her the pressure of making sure she ate a certain amount. And so she'd then say, oh, well, how many spoonfuls of rice do I have to eat? How many pieces of chicken do I have to eat? Or then we even moved on to, you know, timers on the kitchen Alexa, which was horrible, really stressful for everyone. And then I sort of just gave up and was just like, you know, just eat until you're full. And actually, it took the pressure off for both of us, and it made it so much easier for both of us. So when she started back in the summer term, and she didn't have that pressure of I have to eat a certain amount. I just have to eat until I'm full. And also having the midday assistant sort of change it to taking the plate and going, so you're full then, meant that like she'd then think, oh, am I full? Do I feel full? Yes, I know I don't feel full. I'll eat a little bit more. Or yes, I do feel full. I know I can get through the rest of the day until mum brings snack at pick-up time. That really sort of changed everything for us, really.
And that's a really good approach. Like the no pressure approach can make a big difference. So yeah, no, I'm the same. I would never advise, timers or anything like that with children, or just X number of bites or anything, because you just take away that understanding of hunger and fullness as well. And it's an important skill for them to learn as well. And I know there's times when children are underweight and there's other initiatives that have to go, but for a child that's growing well and everything else and eating reasonably balanced diet, then that is the approach to taking. You've done everything completely as I'd advise you to do. So done really well. And it shows because she's eating more as well. And it doesn't backfire on you. You think it will, but it actually doesn't. It actually helps them to learn about eating and everything else. So done really well.
Definitely. I don't think my child will eat school dinners. So I'm thinking of making packed lunches. Can you please give us some ideas of a balanced box? Now, when we were at school, I remember having a club or a penguin, having a packet of crisps, but those are the days of old, aren't they? We're not really allowed to add those things to packed lunches now, are we?
Yeah, because there's lots of rules now around packed lunches, aren't there, in schools? I know I'm making them for my little girl for Fun Club, and I'm really not following the guidelines perfectly. So, but I think it's the summer holidays, and I think that's a battle in its own right. But yeah. I think, there are lots of rules around schools now, and what you're allowed to take in and what we would have had in our day and what they're allowed in boxes. I mean, I think you're basically looking at, you want to have something balanced that's got a carbohydrate, some kind of protein in there as well, some kind of fruit and vegetable as well as your kind of main core thing. So you're looking at your wraps, your bread. My little girl's favourite at the moment is tuna sweet corn mayonnaise sandwiches. She's obsessed with those. But any kind of sandwich that's got some kind of protein, in it, like ham or cheese, or those sort of things can go in the sandwich, a wrap, even like leftovers as well. As long as they have to be heated up, sometimes they can work quite well as well. Like some children like pasta salads and things like that as well. That's another option. Try and obviously put some fruit in there depending on what your child likes. I would say also try and put something new in. Not necessarily every day, but try and rotate what you put in there. So you're not just putting the same fruit every single day. And if, for example, like your child doesn't like cucumber, which took my child a long time to like cucumber, still try and put some of cucumber and like carrot sticks and different things and pepper stick, things like that in the lunchbox. Even if they don't get eaten a lot of the time, you're still exposing them to new, different foods as well. So try and rotate what you put in that lunchbox as well. And things like, cheese, crackers, hummus, all those sort of things as well. And obviously, again, the other problem you have is a lot of schools are now nut-free as well. So again, that can cut out a lot of options as well. So like, cereal bars, or even if you make things, like if you make something on like a Saturday or Sunday, and then you've got it for the whole week long as well, like flapjacks, or bake something, and you can put something in that. But as long as it's not nut-free, then normally those things are fine to go in the packed lunch as well.
It's tricky.
But I do think I would give... I wouldn't necessarily go straight to packed lunches. I would give the option of some school lunches as well, put in there as well, based on what we were talking about before, to give them options and increase their exposure to new foods as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I don't know what your school is like, but we use a system called Parent Pay to pay for things, and we also choose our school dinners through that system. And in the case of our school, we do have a choice on the menu. So it might be that there's things that you think that your child will eat, or there's things that, they won't eat, but you might have a secondary option, like a jacket potato, or like the school packed lunch option, which, just gives you that element of freedom. And like I said, my husband was saying, to me, we did packed lunches last week when my daughter was at summer camp, and I was saying to him, she's going to probably want some packed lunches from next year, because it's not free school dinners for us anymore, with her going into year 3. But he was like, actually, you know, the price of a school dinner, it probably works out cheaper than us giving her a packed lunch every once in a while, because we won't go through that loaf of bread. We won't go through everything that we buy for the packed lunches. So actually, it's probably still better for us to choose the school packed lunch option and pay the money for it than make it ourselves, because in the long run we'll be out of pocket with all the extra bump that we have to put into the shopping basket every week. So but we got the login details a couple of weeks before she started school, and that gave us the option to look through the menu, make sure that there was things that she would eat, and then select the options from the menu, or select the days that she'd have a packed lunch, or the days that she'd have a school dinner. So, you know, before, you know, delving headfirst into the world of packed lunches, do check to see exactly what your school does and how it operates, and maybe see if there's some other options that might strike your child. So there you go. And
you can show them you can show them the menu as well, and get them involved in the menu as well. Like with my little girl, we have we can see our menu. We can't pick and stuff. There's only like a hot option or vegetarian option or jacket potato. But I kind of agreed with her, like we can do jacket potatoes twice a week. Yeah. So when I know there's lots of options on there of food that she will eat. So I know that there's nothing on there where I'm like, oh, she's not going to eat anything on that menu for the whole 5 days. So yeah, like you said, it's good to prepare and have a look at that list and see what's on there. And you know, there probably will be options and days when there are things that they can eat as well.
Yeah. Another question here: what are some strategies that I can implement at home to introduce new healthy foods to my child who might be resistant to trying them at school? I think it's a funny one though, isn't it? Because we were just saying both of our kids who are fussy eaters and have quite had restrictive diets actually tried more at school. So yeah, you might find that it's the other way around.
Exactly. I think sometimes children do better when they're not in their home environment as well. Sometimes they try more foods when they're actually not at home. There's loads of things, you know, like with nursery, my little girl was a nightmare before she went to nursery. When she went to nursery, she really started eating loads more different foods and putting things in her mouth. So sometimes school environments can actually be really positive for their eating. So yeah, no, it depends on the child, but I would say, you know, don't necessarily go with the attitude that it's going to be a complete disaster at school, because it actually might turn out better than you think it does.
I remember my little girl, she would eat tomato soup at nursery and at school, and then came home one day and she was like, "Mummy, I tried broccoli soup and I really liked it." And I was, what? I can't get you to eat broccoli at all, but you'll eat broccoli soup. And it's the same with tomatoes. She won't eat an actual tomato, but she'll eat ketchup and tomato soup. So
mine's the same.
Where I can.
I can get tomato sauce into her, I can get ketchup, and I can get soup into her now on the food chaining approach. But the amount of times I've tried tomato, I keep trying it though, and I keep trying to grow them as well, or kill them off in my case most of the time. But you know, just to try and get her to go to that next step of eating tomatoes and the whole form. But
I was thinking that was probably one of the things that you'd suggest, is just keep trying.
Yeah. Keep exposing and I would say getting them involved in. I've got Olivia some really good like children's knives as well, so that they can help you cut up things and cut up vegetables, and you know, like even cooking with them. And even like, it doesn't have to be like every night, but even if they can like stir something, or they can cut up like some carrots, it can be something really, really small, because I know everyone's time pressured and stressed with summer holidays and stuff, and people don't have loads of time, but it can be really tiny, short periods of time. It doesn't have to be baking, you know, massive meals that take you hours every night. It can just be little things, but getting them involved and exposing them to food, and even going on like food adventures. So like going to like the supermarket, picking, you know, some new foods to try, or growing some foods, or going strawberry picking. You know, it can be lots of fun activities around food. Just try and make it as fun as you possibly can, because that helps to reduce the anxiety around food as well.
One of the things, like when she was at nursery, she got really into like wanting to help stir things and stuff like that. And now my 3-year-old's really intrigued, and so she'll pull up a chair to the cooker and she'll be like, oh, can I help stir? Usually I'll let her sort of grab the bowl and put the things in if I haven't already switched the pan on yet, so it's not sizzling, or if it's sort of like a liquid, like some stock to go into the dish as well, I'll let her pour that in there,
or even serve themselves, so serve you like a spoonful, so even when it's like not cooking anymore and it's on the table, even getting them to do a spoonful can sometimes help as well. It's all exposure.
That's one of the things I used to do when my eldest turned 3. They introduced the self-service like lunch, because they had different rooms for the different age groups. So you had the babies room, the toddlers room, and then the preschool room. And so once you moved up into the preschool room, you then could self-serve yourself your lunch, and that was really good. But at my middle one's nursery, it's different setting. They're a Montessori setting, so they've got the Montessori knives, and they actually do help with food prep and stuff at nursery. So I've had to get my head around the fact that actually she is already helping with food prep and things like that. And they like make like little apple turnovers and and you look at the tapestry and it's like, oh my God, they've actually put a spoonful of filling into the pastry, and they've printed the pastry on their own and then put it on the oven tray and then watched it go into the oven. And so I've kind of got to get my head around the fact that I don't need to be as helpful as I usually am when it comes to stuff like that, because they didn't do things like that with my eldest, but they do with my middle and my youngest. And so,
and are they more adventurous eaters, or
so my eldest started as a very adventurous eater. She would eat everything that we ate. We did baby-led weaning, so we just sort of gave her what we were having, just with reduced salt and things like that. So she started off as a really good eater. It wasn't until she went to nursery that the fussy eating sort of began, and then improved as she got older. But but my middle one, she actually rejects things like chicken nuggets and stuff over like chicken thighs and actual stuff like that. So I'm not upset that my middle one won't eat oven food, and I'm also you managed to, well, you helped me realize that actually the way that my eldest eats vegetables isn't actually such a bad thing, because what she does eat is a full rainbow of vegetables, and actually raw, she's got more nutrients in them anyway, so it's not such a bad thing. It just sometimes means a bit of extra work at dinner time with food for the veggies, but if I'm making carrots for everyone, it just means saving some to one side that stay crunchy,
raw.
It doesn't really
and hopefully eventually, as time goes on, she might be more willing. As you keep working with the food training, eventually she'll probably accept more cooked vegetables. But raw, there's nothing wrong with raw vegetables.
No, and also like with like the stews and stuff, we'll deconstruct it, like you showed in one of your posts the other day with your sausage. Was it a sausage casserole?
Oh tagine, tagine thing,
and so we do similar stuff. So we eat quite a lot of like Turkish stews and things as well, and so we might put the meat to one side and then have some beans and sauce on the other side, and then she can try it if she wants to, but we know that she'll eat the meat and the rice, and then we'll have some raw veg as an option that she can choose. So we know
you can mix it all in for you, so it's not any more additional work. It's not like you're having to be a short cook and cook lots of different meals. You're still giving her the same meal, you're just separating it out, so it's and that's not that difficult to do. So
no, exactly. So it's not that bad. Oh, this is fun. How can I let the school know about any allergies or dietary restrictions that my child has? So
you talk about your experience, because you were telling me about the form.
Yeah, they gave us a form. So in like our starting school pack, they gave us all the information about the parent pay platform and signing up for the e-letters and things like that. But then we also got that form to fill in that said about any dietary restrictions that the child might
we
have.
had the same. There should be a form, and you should be able to then speak to the teachers as well, you know, about your protocols. And if you need, and you might also need to provide any medical information as well. So if you've got any letters where your child's got an EpiPen or anything else, you might need to provide that information as well. I know I did with my little girl with the milk allergy. So you might need to provide that information. So it's worth having, you know, the doctor's notes and information available as well. But definitely speak to the school as well. But you should have some form that you fill in initially, and then there should be conversation. I know with my little girl there was about what she could have and everything else as well.
Yeah, so we don't have any allergies, so we're really lucky from that part. Did you find that they that they stuck to everything and that they didn't try and give her milk and stuff? Or
yeah, so I was lucky, like Olivia grew out of her allergies by the time she was like, we reached top of the milk ladder at 3.5. So she was still sort of in preschool, but she was going to the same preschool as the school, and it was on the same site. So in terms of, we did have new forms for when she started reception as well, but by which point she had grown out of her milk allergy at that point anyway. So I was quite lucky. But when we were in the preschool, which was kind of attached to the school anyway, they were really, really good, really on it. They never gave her anything that didn't have, you know, that had milk in. It was more likely that I would when I went out and I forgot that something had milk in it. So I was probably worse than they were, because, you know, when you're eating out, sometimes, you know, things happen and you suddenly realize that it's got milk in it and you're like, oh no. But yeah, no, the school, I never had any instances at nursery or in her preschool, and obviously she was at a different nursery before. They were really good. And also a lot of children do have allergies now, so they tend to be, most schools will have a no nut policy anyway, no nut allergy policy anyway. But there is a petition going around at the moment for people to sign as well, to change, to help with more support for allergies in schools as well, because I do think there needs to be more training and more help in schools as well, and more staff trained on how to deal with allergies as well. So I do think this is a big thing that's going on at the moment as well, and there is a big petition going around about how to support that. But do speak to the teachers as well and make sure that everything is safe and implemented for your child.
My niece has a milk allergy, but they only found out later on. And so I think she was in year 1 when they worked out that she had milk allergy, and she was still getting, you know, the free milk during break time. And so my sister-in-law had a chat with the school, refilled in the forms, they changed that all on file, and they then started providing her with a milk alternative option for the free milk. So I think that she got, it was either almond or soya. I think it was probably soya because of the no nut thing. But it meant that she had that option available to her. Now, they did have a couple of problems at the beginning, but it wasn't the school's fault. It was Ariella who picked up the wrong carton of milk.
Oh, wow.
So she then, because it's quite self-serve at school. So she was used to getting the normal milk. She just picked up a normal milk instead of the milk alternative. So it was actually
normally most children would start with the allergy. So like my little girl, even from like 2 or 3, would know that she didn't have milk. And when she was offered milk, she would never have it because she knew she had a milk allergy. So they're normally quite good children as well. Like Olivia would never accidentally have had milk. And I remember when she grew out of it and I said to them, oh, now she can have milk. And they served her milk. She was like, I'm not drinking it. It's disgusting. I don't like it. You know, like, so normally children are quite good when they've got an allergy as well. But again, there are forms that are normally filled in, but do definitely speak to the school, make sure you've got any of your, you know, doctor's notes or anything else that, you know, confirms the allergy, or anything else that you need, and have a good chat with the school as well.
Yeah, they were, you know, they're lucky that it just was more like a dodgy tummy kind of thing than an actual, like,
where it's an IG allergy. That's a completely different case. Mine was non-IG allergy, so again, delayed allergies, gastro symptoms, you know, she could have some Puritan and she was okay within sort of like half an hour. We were very lucky, but I understand for parents who've got an IG allergy, it's a completely different situation.
No. So, okay. What role can parents play in supporting healthy eating habits at home to complement school dinners? So, I mean, like, I guess we've sort of covered that a bit anyway, haven't we? Like with the making of similar dinners from the menu and things like that, getting them used to the idea of school dinners before they start school, and sort of like showing them what that menu is.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think also,
I think we've covered quite a lot of that already.
Yeah,
I think it's just getting them involved in looking at that menu and getting them involved as much as you can with food. And even there are some really good books out there as well, like what's Runaway Pea, that's it. That's a really good book. And there's some really nice books about food as well that you can read with your child as well. And even like we find quite fun going to the library and getting cookbooks, so random books, and then finding recipes in them, or just flicking through the recipes. We might not make very many of them, and they might not be very, but it's still you're exposing them to food, you're looking at different foods. You might try, we got one on smoothies, we made the smoothie in one of the books, things like that. Again, you're all exposing them to food as well.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, this is our last question, and I have a very strong opinion on this one. Should I let my child pick their dinners from the online menu? So if your child goes to a school like mine and you have an online menu, what would you say, Emma?
So, my view is I would speak to them. And I think it's important, as we always say, with division of responsibility. As a parent, you sort of choose what your child eats and they're responsible for how much they eat. I think it's definitely good to get them involved, and it's good to look at the menu, together. But I think also, we can also look at when we're talking about different selections and exposure and stuff as well, is giving them options, but also you directing them a bit as well in what the options are. Like I do with the jacket potato, I'm quite happy to have jacket potato twice a week, but I say to them not every day, because it's good to try different food, it's good to get different nutrients. There's lots of options out there, and you like a lot of those foods, and I know on that menu that she likes a lot of those foods, so I'm not worried that she's not going to eat anything. So it's not a case of, whereas I get if you've got a really, really restrictive eater, then it's a different situation. But if you've got a child that does eat a selection of food, and there's lots of safe foods on that menu that they will eat, then I think you can also control what, have an input as well with them as well. It doesn't have to be that's your response is probably going to be a bit different.
No, I've done it both ways. I've allowed her to look at the menu with me, but essentially she just always wanted the packed lunch option because everything sounded scary. So she, unless it was pizza on a Thursday or fish fingers on a Friday, she wasn't interested in the rest of the menu. And then I thought, you know what, sod it, I'm just going to pick for her and it'll be a surprise and we'll see what happens. And actually, the way we do it now is a mix both. So I know what she won't eat, and she will not eat the roast dinner on a Wednesday, so I will pick her something different. And the school dinner menu runs for like 3 weeks, and then so it's like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it repeats, kind of thing,
like ours does. We just don't get the choice, we get the option.
So basically I'll let her have the school packed lunch on a Wednesday, and then any other day that it's like really heavy on the potatoes. So if it's like sausage and mash, I might choose sausage and mash one day at the very beginning of the term, just to see if she'll eat the sausages, or like if it's like a stir fry, then I might choose that once during the term to see if I can like really like persuade her into eating a cooked vegetable within like a mix of other things. But
you're exposing her to different food, and you're still, because I think we talked about this last time, but the thing is, if you don't ever expose your child to a new food or different food, how are they ever going to eat it? And I think I talked to you about the spider analogy, didn't I? And saying that, you know, if I gave you a spider, would you eat it? Well, no, because you've probably never eaten a spider before. So how do you expect her to suddenly eat new food? So it is important. As long as I think there's safe options and you know she's getting enough food, then that's your approach is absolutely fine.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if she comes back and she's like, I really didn't like this, then I know for next time I might not choose it, or I might not choose it next time, but choose it the time after, just to see if like her tastes have changed a bit.
Yeah.
But I sort of work more on the feedback approach than the allow her to choose approach.
No, that's absolutely fine. And I think everyone knows their own child as well, and what works best for your child, and you know where your child is on, you know, eating and how restricted they are and what else is going on, if there's sensory issues, you know, there's lots of other factors that, you know, play into your individual child. So
it's so
I think
funny.
your approach is absolutely fine. It sounds like it's working really, really well as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you my biggest surprise. So as you know, she won't eat tomatoes, but she'll eat tomato soup and she'll eat tomato ketchup. One other tomato thing she won't eat is a basic tomato pasta sauce. She will not eat pasta in this sauce, yet everyone else in the house does. So one day I chose a meatball sub option with a marinara sauce.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, she might just pick the meatballs out of it and eat meatballs and the cheese, and it will come with like a side salad. So she'll probably eat some of the vegetables from the side salad. So I know that she'll at least have some protein, a little bit of dairy and some vegetables. So I'll choose this and see what happens. She ate the lot, Emma. She came home and she was like, that was the best dinner you've ever booked me. I really loved it. And I was like, what the hell? You won't. So I said, so if I make the same sauce and put it on pasta, would you eat it? And she was like, no.
Have you tried it with the meatballs though?
No, I might give it a go.
I'd go with the meatballs because I think you're a step closer then, and then all you need to do is then step to the bolognese, which is your next step, sort of from meatballs to the bolognese, and then you're kind of there. You're getting there. I would definitely do the same at home.
Yeah,
and try again.
It's really funny because she'll eat bolognese at school, but she won't eat it at home. Yeah. Apparently, my vegetables are too chunky. So
I get that she doesn't like the vegetables I add, like she doesn't like spinach and stuff, because I'll put loads of vegetables in a bolognese, which obviously doesn't go in a normal bolognese, and that annoys her. So yeah, she'll eat the bolognese quite happily at home, or if Granny makes bolognese, because Granny's bolognese is the best bolognese. Why can't I do bolognese like Granny? So you know, all children do this. They all, you know, and that's why I always say to parents, you know, like with worrying about packed lunches and choosing school dinners, I think it's so good to give it a go, like at least try it, even if it's only for a week, and it, you know, they don't eat, and you know, it all goes wrong and then you go back to packed lunch. That's fine, at least you've tried it. And you know, I definitely think it's an opportunity because they might surprise you and actually eat more different food, like we both found at school than they did at home. So
I think that's the thing, is like it's a process for both the parent and the child with a child starting school. And like really it's such a big learning curve actually starting to trust that your child can do things independently, because it's been such a long time of you helping and aiding a child or another adult in a different setting doing exactly the same thing. I think that we sort of forget that, oh, by the time they're like 2, they're able to put their own coat on. By the time they're 3, they can generally put their own shoes on. By the time they're, you know, 4, they're generally dressing themselves. And it's like, oh, okay. And so I think really going to school is such a big step for everyone, because they need you less, that it causes this anxiety in a way. But really it's actually getting to that point of trusting that you and your child both know what you're doing, and it will all be okay in the end. So
definitely
you'll get there, be fine. Well, thank you so much for joining me again, Emma. And if you guys do have a child who is a fussy eater or has an allergy, I would 100% recommend that you follow Emma on Instagram. She's at Dietitian with a Difference, and seriously check her out. Her Instagram is super helpful. But then you also do one-to-one work as well, don't you? And
yeah, I do. I have particularly for fussy eaters, have a master fussy eating package as well. So yeah, I do support parents, yeah, separately in a one-to-one situation as well, all virtually. So don't worry, wherever you're based, I can still see you. I get that question a lot. They're like, I don't live near you. And I'm like, that's fine.
It's
But yeah,
amazing
no,
what the
or
world
follow
of
me on
COVID did for
Instagram.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Setting up us
Yeah.
all virtually, it's been
Yeah.
actually been quite helpful in a way. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me again, and I hope to have you on soon.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
If you enjoyed this episode of Mum's Work and Chaos, please make sure to subscribe on whatever podcasting channel you're listening on at the moment. Or if you'd like to get involved, feel free to email me at mumsworkandchaos@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at mumsworkandchaos. See you then.